Baby, lay on back and relax. Kick your pretty feet up on my dash. No need to go nowhere fast. Let's enjoy right here where we at. If it's meant to be, it'll be, it'll be. Baby, just let it be. If it's meant to be, it'll be, it'll be. Baby, just let it be.
Well, does anybody know what tomorrow is? Thursday.
Jeremy, you better get a shot at
Anniversary, the first time I ever went out with my wife.
Valentine's Day?
Tomorrow's shoulder day.
Yeah, exactly. That's my life. What's tomorrow? Well, this week I talked to, this has actually been on my heart for a long time now, but I talked to Landon and Rita a while back and asked if they would be interested in kind of tag teaming a couples series. So he was like, sure, you're going first, of course, because that's how Landon does things. So, but I'm glad because we got to go right before Valentine's Day. So we kind of wanted to just talk to you guys a little bit about us, about our story, kind of how things happened for us, and then next week you'll get to hear about Landon and Rita, which I love their story too. So I think that you're really going to enjoy learning all this new stuff about everybody. So fall of 2008 or 2009, I was like 12 or 13 years old, and my friend Megan Neary, some of you may know who that is, she invited me to come to this church, and at that time it was called First Assembly. New Life was not even thought of, and so I was like, yeah, okay, I'll come. So I went with her, and that was at the point where we had, let's see, the pastor's 2 daughters, Jonathan, Amber, and me, and Megan. So that was our youth group. That was all that we had. And we all met every Wednesday, but we literally didn't do anything. We would just sit around and talk. So of course, what teenager is not going to love that? You don't have to learn anything, and you get to eat and just talk to your friends. So that's how I started coming to this church. And at the time, Jeremy was with Destiny, and I think I had some boyfriend. I'm not real sure. And yeah, I think that was when I was with Ricky, actually. That's a story for another day, let me tell you. But Jason Fulbright was so mad at me for being with Ricky every single Wednesday. He'd go, what are you doing? What are you doing with your life? I'm like, I'm being a teenager, that's what I'm doing. But so he was with Destiny. If y'all don't know, he was with Destiny Fulbright. They were together for a long time out of high school, and they were engaged. And so I didn't know Jeremy. I didn't give him the time of day. I didn't know anything about him, so we didn't talk or anything like that. Plus, at the time, he was a lot older than me, so that would have looked really bad. But so I think I don't really know what year they ended up actually breaking up, but we became friends somehow or another, and so I was able to kind of be there for him through that first really hard time in his life. And he would always joke with me about marrying me one day, and you know, I had boyfriends. This sounds bad, that sounds really bad saying, but you know, I had boyfriends on and off throughout that time. And so I would always be like, no, we're not dating, first of all, we're not gonna be together, and you need to just stop and give it up. So Landon, if you want to go to the next slide, I actually found some text messages that are just too funny to me. Yeah, he's always been jailbaiting my phone from the day one. So I was looking through some old messages, and this one cracks me up because I'm like, Jeremy, you cannot wait on me for the rest of your life. I know I'm the love of your life, but you've got to move on. This is a long time ago, y'all. He's like, can't, sorry. You're gonna have to try. I'm sorry. If you want to go to the next one.
Oh, there's another one?
Yeah, there's 4, I think.
I think it was all done dating. I don't think Jeremy was
There's no telling what we were talking about. I actually think we were talking about scare tactics. But he was like, you would have to kiss me, that way it would definitely look real and it would seal the deal for sure. And I was like, yeah, I'd act like I was, but I'd put my thumbs over your lips. And, you know, poor baby, he's like, yeah. I said, you'll be okay. You're just scared you'd fall for me if you actually did. And, yep, you wish. Maybe I'll get lucky one day. I'm like, yeah, with someone else. Not me.
She was brutal.
So he lived out in the middle of nowhere. Wi-Fi would only work when he was in his bedroom. And so this is on Facebook Messenger, and I'm like, why are you messaging me on here now? Y'all, this was probably like 6 years ago. Like, this is a long time ago. He's like, because we're secretly dating. And I'm like, we are not dating. Y'all don't know how often I had to be like, we are not together, we are not dating, you need to stop. Yes, we are, just deal with it. No, we're not, just deal with it. For real, why'd you message me on here? I wish you wouldn't be so hard-headed. It's okay to admit it. It's just our little secret, nothing wrong with that. See, Jeremy at the very bottom. Because that's all that I ever said to him. I was like, Jeremy, stop. Jeremy. I'm like, because I couldn't, not yet. Not that one yet. Because I couldn't say anything because throughout all this time I had a boyfriend. So I'm like, I cannot talk to you like this. This is wrong. And, but I just told everybody, it's just Jeremy being Jeremy, because who knows, Jeremy's a huge flirt. He can't stop. He's just a huge flirt. Even being married, he's a flirt. So it's just his personality. And so I was just like, oh, it's just Jeremy. And so my boyfriend at the time actually knew how Jeremy talked to me, and he didn't even really think anything of it because he thought, that's just Jeremy too. But little did we know, didn't know I'd be sitting here married to him one day. So I guess Jesse probably should have been a little more worried.
I didn't think it was going to happen either.
He just always said it, but didn't actually believe it. Years also, and they were engaged. And during that whole time, he was sending me pictures of rings, like, what do you think about this one? Telling me what he was going to do for her for Valentine's Day, telling me, like, all this stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's such a pretty ring. Told me how much he spent on it. I was like, dang, she's lucky, girl. So this whole time, I'm like, not really feeling any envy or anything like that. I was happy for him. He was finally going to be with somebody. And I knew that he loved her, and they were so good together. And there was never any issue. She's super sweet. And so I was happy for him until they got engaged. And I don't know why, because I knew it was coming. Like, I knew when he was going to do it. I saw the ring. Like, I knew everything. But the moment I saw Brittany's post on Facebook saying that they were engaged, my heart sunk. And here I am in a relationship, and I, did not understand it at all. I was like, this is weird. Why am I feeling like heartbroken? I should not feel this way. And I never told anybody that, because you don't do that, especially when you have a boyfriend. But I was just like, God, he's really gone now. Like, that was my thought. And then I had to reel myself back in. I was like, wait, he's really gone now? What is that? No, you're with somebody. You have a boyfriend. You should not be worried about Jeremy. But it did. It hurt me. And not long after that, we kind of went our separate ways and didn't talk very much, and he told me, he was like, hey, Brittany doesn't really like me talking to you. It cracks me up now just thinking about it, because when she saw that we got engaged, she was probably like, yep, I knew it. That's why I didn't like him talking to her. I knew something was up. But I never really gave it any thought. I always kind of wondered what it would be like to be with Jeremy, but I never, I was like, that's never going to happen in a million years. I'm marrying Jesse. Yeah. So, you want to tell a little bit of your side of how things that happen in your life and a little bit about your testimony?
Would you like to correct anything?
That's when you say no.
He's like,
You're doing good. Well, like she said several times, I did not see this happening either. We joked about it. I said stuff all the time, like, we're gonna get married. But did I really believe it? No, I was just being a flirt, I guess you would say. But just to show you how you don't know what's gonna happen with your future. Like, most of y'all know me pretty well. You probably think, oh, he grew up, having it easy because he's a pastor's kid. He's been in church all his life and all this kind of stuff. So it's like, oh, he probably didn't go through, anything or whatever. Well, that's sort of true, sort of not true. Probably until maybe after Destiny, I was the good kid and all this kind of stuff. But somewhere in between there, especially after your first heartbreak, they always say that's the worst, because that's the first person you love, so it hits you the hardest. from then on out, it's things started to like come against me. Like, you know, anybody that's gone through tough things, you're gonna start feeling down, feel terrible. You know, you're gonna start asking if something was wrong with you because, you know, you didn't get answers for something that happened. Like, I didn't have an explanation of why she left and all this kind of stuff. So in my head, I'm starting to think that I thought I did everything right, but I must have went wrong somewhere because she left and she didn't even say nothing, you know, like why it was wrong. So even though I'm thinking these things, at the same time I'm trying to think, okay, well, maybe this is just God's way of showing me I wasn't supposed to be with her. But even though you're thinking that, it's still hard because you thought it was right. So then it's like, well, if you thought this was right, how are you going to go into the next one thinking it was right and all that kind of stuff? Well, I did get into another serious relationship. It didn't last as long as the first one, but I still had those feelings of like, okay, this one, it feels right again. You know, I think this one is probably going to go through. Well, the same thing happens. They don't tell you why. They can't tell you. I mean, I asked several times, why? Like, can you give me some sort of answer? And it's, I don't know. Like, I just don't feel like we need to be together. And so there you are, you're left again. So it's like, at this point, you've done it twice. It's like, why even try again? I mean, if you don't know what's happening with these, why even try and have it happen again? Because you don't even know what you're doing wrong the first 2 times, you know? It's like, it sounds terrible because I've been engaged 3 times. Like, most people don't get engaged but once. I've been engaged 3 times. Like, that's just, it's stupid. But anyways, going through all that stuff, it put a burden on me. Like, it made me have, like, I don't know, like guilt, feeling like I wasn't good enough, stuff like that, because obviously something was going on. And I mean, now I know that those feelings were things that the devil was putting on me, you know, to make me feel that way, because obviously God had a different plan that I wasn't seeing. But him making me feel that, you know, made me, you know, have all this shame and stuff, and it caused me to fall into things that I had no business, you know, getting into, things that the devil comes against you with and knows he's going to get you, you know. I had sex before I was married, and it wasn't with her. There for a couple years, I was addicted to porn. I mean, I couldn't stop looking at it every day. I would find myself at night going through my phone, looking at stuff. And this went on for a really long time. And that kind of stuff, it'll, like, it eats you. It's when people say it's addiction, it's really an addiction that grabs you and you can't let go of it. Like, no matter how hard you try. Every time I would do it, after I was done looking at stuff, I'm like I would say this out loud to myself: you are so stupid. Like, why are you looking at this? What, you know better? You don't need to be doing this. Why are you doing it? And this would happen literally every single time. But the next day or the day after, what would I do? I would find myself looking at it again. It became such an addiction to me that I couldn't let go of it. And this went on, like I said, for a really long time. And that kind of stuff, it eats you up because you can't, you know, it's hard to get rid of it. The devil knows what he's doing. And when he puts stuff on you like that, he does it for a reason, because he knows it's going to get you. And the only way you can get out of that kind of stuff is if you fully, give everything to God. You constantly go to him and pray. And like during this whole time, I went to the altar more during this however many years than I probably have my whole life, because for one, I'm trying to stop doing these stupid things that I shouldn't be doing in the first place because I know better. And then two, because even though I'm sad and heartbroken and all this stuff, I still long
for that relationship with someone, because I know that somebody's out there, even though it hasn't worked. I still want that. And so, I'm trying to break this and trying to, find that and still trust God all at the same time. And it made me walk around for a long time with a lot of shame on myself. I didn't, it was hard for me to keep my head up. I might have looked like I was okay, but I'm sure nobody had, any ideas what I was going through. I mean, most of the time we don't know what other people are going through because it's easy to hide things, and we don't want people to see that side. Y'all are some of the only people that I've ever told this to. She's probably the only one I've ever told I had a porn addiction to, so I haven't said this to anybody before. It's just, I just want y'all to realize that even if you're going through things, it's like, don't give up, even if it seems like it has such a hold on you that you can't, because, no matter what it is, it could be drinking, drugs, you could be hurting yourself. It's all these things is things that the devil uses to come against you. But no matter, what it is, if you stay focused on Him and you continue to seek Him and do what you're supposed to do, He'll bring you out of it, because He brought me out of it. And like I said, it took a while. There were times that I would be proud of myself because I would go 2 or 3 weeks without doing something. But then a thought would come across my mind, I might see something, and then boom, I fall right back into it. I'm like, God, you were doing so good, and then now you're right back into it. But I kept trying to be strong because I knew what was right. I knew what I needed to do, and because I kept seeking Him and praying, I was able to eventually break through that. And when I did, that's when these other things started to fall into place, and that's when our story started to come together, and we got really connected back as friends, and it just from then on out, it's just history, I guess you would say. But it's just you can't let certain things in your life dictate the outcome of your life. So a lot of people do that. You let things just get to you so bad that you're like, well, this is just going to be how it is forever.
You were close to that.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I definitely. I would say that I was probably at a 5 or. If somebody asked me if I thought I was going to get married and find that person, I probably would have said there was a 5 or 10% chance maybe of it happening. I had no belief whatsoever that I was going to find a person because of how my past had been. But that just goes to show you that no matter what you think or what has happened, God has, a plan set out for you, and he'll definitely blow your mind if you give Him the chance to do so. So
even when we first did get together, he didn't ask me to be his girlfriend for months because he was so scared that I was just gonna run off and break his heart again. And so when he finally did ask me to be his girlfriend, I was like, this is it. I know it, because Jeremy Noble just asked somebody to be his girlfriend, and I know he has not done that in so long. So he was actually able to trust somebody for the first time.
See, I told her all the time. I was like, I'm not gonna find nobody, and she's like, yes, you are. You're gonna find somebody one day. She's gonna be just amazing. I know she is. She was praying for me to find somebody. She constantly prayed that I would find somebody, not knowing that she was praying for herself, which is super funny to me. Because she was even you're going to have to move. You need to leave Center because there's nobody in Center that you're going to get with. You're going to have to go somewhere else to find someone. And I was like, I don't want to move. I don't want to go nowhere else. I was like, I'll just be single. I'll just stay here and be single because I don't want to go anywhere else. I don't want to move. And she's like, well, you're going to have to find somebody. And I was like, no, I'm just gonna stay here. So
Yeah, I was like, she's not
if you don't
gonna,
want me to be single, then you're just gonna have to.
like,
hook up with
you
me.
know everybody in Center, so it's not, you're not gonna find anybody there. Like, you love Colorado, just go start over in Colorado and find you a girl that loves to ski as much as you do.
And
You know?
she was trying so hard to find me somebody. Like,
If I would meet someone that I thought was worth it, I was like,
yeah, she was trying to
Jeremy
get me with
needs
somebody
someone.
else.
There for a little bit, I was talking to him about my sister, my big sister, but she was older than him, so I was like, you know, she's not gonna date a younger guy. And she told me a long time ago, this is what's funny too. She was like, Jeremy Noble is freaking cute. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And she was like, if he was just a little bit older. And I'm like, yeah, I know. So now I need to watch her now that we're married and she's around all the time and be like, Jeremy Noble's so freaking cute, huh? You still feel that way? But, yeah, I know you feel that way. I'm not worried about you as much.
You probably should be.
So in the meantime, I was in a relationship when, before we broke up, we were actually together for 6 years, which is a really long time to be with somebody when you are 15 years old. And my parents should have beaten me and held me in the house and never let me date that young. But the reality of it is, you're all going to do it, and you're all going to be with somebody for a really long time. And you probably realize at some point in that relationship that you're not supposed to be in that relationship like I did. But we were together for so long that that was my best friend. That was my comfort zone. He was who I went to for everything. You know, I didn't want to be with anybody else. I couldn't even imagine leaving him. Nothing like that. And it wasn't that it was that he was a bad person. I just knew from the get-go that it wasn't of God. You know, his family were drug addicts and alcoholics, and you know, his father would get drunk and beat the crap out of him. And you know, this is just stuff that my mom was like, look at what you're going into. I want you to understand you're not just going to marry him, you're going to marry the whole family. So if you're not liking these patterns now, marriage is only going to amplify everything. And that's another thing that y'all need to take from this, is that if they have a little thing now that you don't think you can handle, you really ain't going to be able to handle it when you're sleeping next to them every night, waking up to them every morning, and seeing them all day long, you know. Marriage only amplifies the problem. So keep that in mind whenever you're picking your partner, because, yeah, marriage just makes... Thankfully, the only problem that has amplified are the amount of farts that this man possesses, which is just ungodly, and I'm not even kidding.
I'll say it's the other way around.
Thankfully, that's the only thing that I've had to deal with anymore.
I'm proud of it.
He's like, those are protein farts, I'm getting gains. Anyway, that was gross, I know. But so I was with this guy, and you know, this is the only thing that I see in my future. I'm like, I'm gonna marry him. Anytime that my mom would talk to me about it, I was like, you just need to stop talking about it, because I'm gonna marry him. Point blank, that's it. But I always had a check in my spirit. But you don't want to admit that, especially when you're with somebody. You don't want to be like, you know, I really don't know if I'm supposed to be doing this. So I just stayed with it. 6 years, 6 very long years I stayed with it. And, you know, I really should have known, just different red flags all over the place. No, he was never really bad to me, but he wasn't good to me either. And, you know, he never satisfied what I always wanted, that I always expected the Lord would give me. He never fit in that list. He never fit in that category. And my mom had just moved to Oklahoma, so this is the first time that I had lived on my own. I moved out and got my own house, and he lived in Center at the time. If this shows y'all anything about how not important I was to this boy, he lived in Center, I lived in Nacogdoches, and I would ask him to come hang out with me, and he's like, oh, that's too far. I just can't come to Nacogdoches, that is so far. And I was like, what? Like, it's 30 minutes away, just come hang out with me for a little bit. So that was a huge culture shock when I got with him, and he was in my driveway when I was telling him, do not come here, and he was already there, and I'm like, I can't get rid of this dude. He's like popping up at my house all the time. One time actually I walked out of my house and he had his truck backed up to almost to my front door, and he was sitting on the tailgate just looking at me. And I was like, this boy just walked out of a movie or something. Like, this is not real. I don't know if Kaylee was there or not. But,
Yeah, that's when she's, because I think she came out first and she saw me.
oh, she was
And
like,
then
Jeremy's
she-
out there.
And she said, I won't call the cops.
Yeah, him and Kaylee, my sister, they have a love-hate relationship. So to this day, she's like, I hate you. And he's like, I hate you too. So that's how they are. Yeah, I think she came inside and told me she was
He's a problem with Kaylee's, don't he?
yeah, he does.
I get it now. I get it
It's just
now.
that name.
It's just that name.
Well, she got way bigger attitude than you, so that's why they don't get along.
I
But
got all that. I get
oh,
it,
trust
brother.
me. Anyways, so I just moved out on my own, so I finally talked Jesse into moving to Nacogdoches. So he moved literally, let's see, y'all know where the Taliesin apartments are, right next to McDonald's. I live right next to Kroger. It was literally a few feet apart from each other. That's how close that we lived to each other. I still did not see that boy. Like, seriously, he stayed cooped up in his house playing video games. If I got sick, I'd ask him to go get me medicine. He's like, I just started my game.
Oh my gosh.
I was
like,
Oh my goodness. So these are the little things that had been building up for 6 long years. And around this time was when I was actually starting to get fed up with it. We did better when we lived further apart. When we moved into the same town, it was like, you still don't have time for me and you're a few hundred yards away from me. Like, that's ridiculous. So these things just started building up and building up and building up. And I think, I had come to Scare Tactics one October, and I actually had, I think one of those messages was actually talking about it. But, Jeremy was Jesus, like he always is, and Jesse and I had come to Scare Tactics, and so we were sitting, like when you walk into the sanctuary, we were sitting like on the left side. And, Jesus is coming down the aisle in the heaven scene. Well, Jeremy looks over at me, and we lock eyes. And I know this is bad because I had a boyfriend at the time, but I have never felt something like that in my life. Like, there was nobody else in the room, and I was just staring at him, and he was just staring at me, and I was just like, oh, I should not have felt what I just felt. Like, that was not good. And my boyfriend's sitting right here.
I'm over here trying to be Jesus and she's giving me feelings.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
I know, I'm being
I got a big job position to use it over.
I'm being a temptation, I know. And afterwards, I text him. And what's funny is when he walked by, Jesse looked at me looking at him like that, and I said, I love Jeremy. I actually said that to Jesse, and he didn't think anything of it, he just thought, yeah, I know, you're friends with him. But I was like, I love him. And so that night we actually started talking, not like that, I'm not a cheater, that is not what I'm saying. We just got reconnected, and we just started talking a lot again. Just normal life stuff. And I think December came around, and we had met up in Walmart parking lot. He had just got done working out. And I was like, are you going to the church's New Year's Eve party thing? And he was like, yeah, I think so. And so I was like, I think I might come. Because I hadn't been to church in so long, y'all. This was how bad this relationship was. It had turned me to where I didn't want anything to do with God. I was angry at him. I did not. Jesse wasn't interested, I wasn't interested, we didn't go to church, we didn't do anything like that. And so I was like, I think that I'm just going to come, I miss everybody, it'd be good to see everybody. And so I come that night, I felt so awkward, because I hadn't seen everybody in so long, and here I am all by myself. I don't even know, were you there that night, Ashley?
Yes, that's the night that we reconnected too.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
it was. Yeah, I just couldn't remember if we were actually hanging out or if you were busy doing something. I couldn't remember.
Yes,
But yes, Ashley and I's relationship got reconnected on that night also.
I love you too, Kate.
I love you. I'm sorry. And so that night we actually got reconnected, and we took a picture together. And I laugh about this, and this sounds so bad, so y'all don't judge me. I took a picture with Jeremy, and I posted it on Snapchat and said, I love him. And then I went to Jesse's house to see him. I took a picture with Jesse and posted it on Snapchat, and I was like, I love him too. And I was like, people are probably thinking, what is wrong with this girl? She is torn, and they could not be more right. I was so torn. So Jeremy and I started hanging out with Ashley, and then Taylor came along, and so we all had a little clique. and Dakota Woodard and Alan and all of us, like we were together all the time. Every Wednesday night, every Sunday, Sunday night, Sunday after church, all the weekends. Jeremy would come to IHOP at 1 o'clock in the morning when me and Ashley wanted to go to IHOP. He would just be there. Like, we just had such a good friendship. And I was like, man, I really miss being friends with all these people. Well, Jesse started to get mad and, just angry with me. Like, you never had time for me anymore. I was like, oh, now you know how it feels. Doesn't that suck? No, I'm just kidding. But there was one night specifically, and Ashley and Taylor and all of us and Jeremy had gone to eat at Rancho after Sunday night. And I told Jesse, I was like, I'll be home after we eat. And he was like, you know what? For somebody who goes to church as much as you do, you sure don't act like you have Jesus. And I was like, excuse me? Like, I am trying so hard here to better myself. Like, I was here every time the doors were open. I sat on the front row. Like, I was soaking up everything because I had longed for that relationship with the Lord so bad for so long. And Jesse wouldn't come with me. I tried every single time to get him to come with me. He would not do it. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm moving forward and you're staying behind me and I can't do that anymore. So that night was actually the kicker for me. I was like, I cannot be with somebody that is going to question my integrity like this because I'm trying to go to church and get closer to the Lord again. And so that night I pretty much had made my mind up and went home, and I think it was the next day actually, I asked Jesse to come over and I told him, like, hey, this is not working anymore. I'm sorry. I don't feel like I'm supposed to be with you anymore. We're going different directions and you're not interested in the things that I am, and I really feel like the Lord is leading me, no offense, but not to be with you anymore. And so I asked him for a break, and at first, it was pretty bad at first, but then it got a little better, but then it got really bad really fast. And Jesse showed me his true colors, and that's another thing, is that people will act like how you want them to act for a little bit until you're not reciprocating or interested, and then they're like, oh, forget it, I was just doing all that just to get you back, So he miraculously started having this relationship with the Lord out of nowhere that he had never had before, and he was hearing God, and God was speaking to him on my behalf, and all this stuff. I'm like, you have never said these things in your life, but okay.
I think he even came here one Sunday.
He did.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember. His little desperate attempts to get my
By
attention.
himself.
Yeah.
When you couldn't get him to come with you ever.
Yeah, and so, he really started trying, and he knew that I loved The Bachelor. He would come and leave roses on my doorstep and say, like, will you accept this rose for this date tonight? He bought me Florida Georgia Line tickets, which, if you know me, that is my weakness. He bought me the tickets, and I said no to that concert, and that was so hard. He was like, I already bought the tickets. And I was like, well, that was stupid because I broke up with you, so that's your fault. But everything got so messy after this, and he showed his true colors, and I was like, thank you, Lord, for telling me what to do and saving me when you did, because I would have been, my parents divorced when I was 16. I would have ended up exactly like my mom, and I knew it. I could see it happening. She could see it happening. My whole family could see it happening. But they were like, Lord, you're just going to have to deal with her. You're going to have to show her a way out of this. And because, being so young, you're not thinking about that. And being with him for so long, I was like, how do I end this? How do I get out of this comfort zone? He's my best friend. How do I do that? And I'm not going to lie to you, it was the hardest thing that I've ever done in my entire life. But looking back on it now, I am so thankful. And this is so what I really wanted to get across to you guys is that the decisions that you're making right now in your life with the relationships that you're in, you may think that it's not a big deal right now, but you're setting yourself up for your future. You may be 13, you may be 15, you may be 18, 20. It doesn't matter. The decisions that you're making are not just, it's just my boyfriend for the week, it's just my girlfriend for the week. And it may be. That may be how you're doing things right now. But it is setting you up for your future, and you have to be careful about this, because if Jeremy would not have come back into my life when he did, I 100% would have gone back to Jesse. Why? Because it was my comfort zone. He was there. He was readily available. He would pretty much do anything that I wanted. I could have just been with him, always been in control, always been the man in the relationship, always been paying the bills, always been the one that had the job, the only one that had the job, always been taking care of myself when I'm sick, always could have been doing all this stuff, but the Lord knew the desires of my heart, and he knew that I wanted somebody who was going to be there for me, who was going to take care of me. Women love security. We want to know that somebody is there for us. We want to know that we're going to be taken care of. We don't want to wake up one day and they're coming to get a car because your husband didn't pay any of the bills because he bought computer parts for his video games. You know, that was the life that I was headed into, and I knew it. So it was the hardest it was the hardest choice that I've ever had to make in my life. But looking back on it now, I am so glad that I did. And sometimes I'll just sit, like even now, I will just sit and cry sometimes and just thank the Lord, because I'm like, you saved me. You completely 100% saved me from divorce. I was petrified of marriage. Petrified. I saw my parents go through the divorce. I was not even going to risk it. I was like, you don't love anybody. No one loves you. Just stay your course. Just keep dating. People would always ask me, when are you guys going to get married to Jesse? And I was like, we ain't talking about that. We changed the subject. We're not talking about marriage. And then this guy comes along, talks about, we were talking for 2 months, we're already talking about marriage. And I knew that it was completely different. So I was like, okay, if Katelen McCollum at the time is actually considering marrying somebody, then that might be a really good sign that it's probably from the Lord. And
everything she was scared of in that relationship, whenever we started talking, it's like she completely like turned around.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Everything she was scared of, she was not scared of it anymore.
Yeah.
It was really weird, and things like that is what lets you know. Get confirmation.
Yes. Our whole relationship has been nothing but confirmation. I mean, one thing right after another has just been, yes, you're doing this right. Yes, you're going the right course. You faced a lot of hell to get there. All the stuff that I went through with Jesse, all the stuff that he went through with Brittany and Destiny and anybody else, like Jesse was mainly, I was with him for 6 years, so that was pretty much all that I knew. But, being with somebody for that long, you don't know how to function without them. And so that was a bit of an adjustment, but it was so easy to fall in love with him. It was so effortless. To this day, our conversation is so effortless. Some people ask me, because we'll talk all day long, like, what the heck do you talk about? What do you have to talk about? And I'm like, really don't know.
But what's funny is the way we talk now is exactly like those
Yeah.
messages we just like.
Nothing different.
Like this whole time, we talk the same now as we did 6 years ago. That's what's funny about it. Like the way that I joke with
nothing
her,
changed.
like it's all the same.
The only difference was we had never really hung out in person for a long period of time, here and there at church or like at Jason Fulbright's house or something like that. We would hang out, but it was never like a
And that's what was weird too, is because we didn't ever see each other in person, but yet we had such a great like relationship, and friendship that you would have if you did hang out with somebody a lot. You know what I mean? And so since we had that connection, even though we didn't see each other, whenever we did start actually seeing each other, it just was super easy because we already had this connection.
So it was so fun. I had never had that much fun. Actually, Jesse asked me when he found out Jeremy and I were together, he was like, what do you like about him so much? And I was like, he makes me laugh. Jesse was like, what? I was like, he's hilarious. Like, he makes me laugh so much, and my joy has come back. And so now when I talk about the joy of the Lord, like it's one of my favorite things to talk about and to tell people. I'm like, rejoice, this is the joy of today is the day the Lord has made. Rejoice and be glad in it. The joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord, because that was what was put into me for the first time in so long. Really, since I was 16 and my parents divorced, and I was just totally broken in that love area, period. And so being with him was just so effortless, and it just brought so much joy into my life and changed my whole life. Like, I know it's hard for y'all to believe because y'all only see like happy-go-lucky, bubbly Katelen, that everything's perfect and sparkly and stuff like that. And that is my attitude now. But then I was so dark and deep and cold, and I hated everybody, and I was angry at the world, and I didn't want anything to do with the Lord. And so the transition that my life took and his life, I can see such a big difference in his life from when we first started hanging out again to now. He is a completely different person. He said that he used to walk around with his head down, and that is 100% true. Like, from the moment I started coming back to church, he just, like, you could just feel it. I don't know if anybody else could, but I could just feel it on him. Like, you know, he just seemed like so, like, don't look at me, so shameful. And so when we were able to work through these things together, it really changed everything, and it changed both of our lives for the better. So what we wanted to really focus on with you guys, Landon, if you want to put that scripture up, and then we can play the video. I know it's getting late. But Madison actually sent me this scripture the other day when I was talking about Valentine's Day, and it hit me right in my face. And it's so simple too. It's when I wait, you strengthen my heart. And I feel like that is like, it should just be plastered on both of us because that is like so relevant in both of our lives. We were in such a time of waiting that we thought that, you know, I thought I was not ever going to be happy. I just thought I was going to be living this status quo life for the rest of my life and end up in divorce. I knew it. I knew I was going to be divorced. And, you know, with him, he was
I just
like,
didn't think I was gonna
yeah.
ever get it.
He was like, I'm just going to be single for the rest of my life. It's fine. And I was like, no, you're not. God's got a perfect, sweet girl that's just going to come in and sweep you off your feet. And it's so funny. I have those messages somewhere, but I don't know where they are. That's been years and years and years ago. But it is funny, like he said, that I was actually praying for myself unknowingly because I really would intercede for him. You know, his story broke my heart. You know, I found messages when we first got together of him telling me right when Brittany broke up with him, he was like, it's over. And I have no idea what is wrong with me. You know, when you're watching your friend go through that, that is heartbreaking, much less when it's a friend that you really care about. And so seeing the complete 360 that the Lord did in his life and the complete 360 that the Lord did in my life, I want you guys to know, like I said, the decisions that you're making now are going to set you up for the rest of your life. But as long as you are faithful to the Lord, He's going to be faithful right back to you. And that is in any area. But relationships seem to be so big, especially in teenage lives. It's pretty much all that we think about. You know, boys or girls, we're, you know, because that's what we were made to do. We were made to be with another person. And, you know, God created Adam and Eve to be together and multiply, and so every person longs for that in your life. And I so badly want you guys to be so careful in who you're picking to be, you know, your forever. And I know you're young and you're probably not thinking about marriage at all, which is fine.
You don't need to. Right?
Yeah, you don't really need to right now. But whenever you do, I want you to think back on, you know, things that you've learned tonight and what you're going to learn with Landon and Rita. And one other thing that I feel like was really, really big in our relationship, and I know this is going to get pretty personal, but y'all know that I was a virgin. Did not ever have sex or anything. And so that was, you know, one of the first relationships that he had that he was able to say, you know, I have waited. I have really waited this time. And I think that made a huge difference. I really think that made a huge difference in how our outcome turned out and why the Lord was so pushy and just setting us up from the beginning, because we were faithful. In every area, we were faithful. And so I want you guys to be encouraged to be faithful in your purity, you know, be faithful in your walk with the Lord, and be faithful in really seeking Him for who you're going to marry, because you need to start praying for that person now. Start praying for your future husband. Start praying for your future wife, because they could be in this room, they could be at your school, they could be, you know, anywhere. You could pass them in Walmart and you didn't even know it. But you need to start praying for them now, because you have no idea what they may be facing, no idea what they may be going through. No, I was praying for myself back in the day, and I'm glad that I was, because I needed that. But
You don't want to go through stuff like either one of us have. You know, you want to find that person the first time.
Yeah.
Like, just from my experience, it's you don't want to go through that kind of stuff once, definitely not multiple times.
I told him third time was a charm.
like she said, of course she was still a virgin. One thing that really hurt me was knowing that whoever I was going to be with, I wasn't going to be able to, for that to be my first time. Like that was one of the hardest things for me, going out of that relationship is because I wasn't going to be able to give my whole self to the one. And like, she was able to do that, and that's something that she, you know, has the right to be proud of. But like with me going into it, I sort of felt bad in a way because I wasn't able, you know, to give her that. And as good, great as a person she is, she definitely deserved to have that. But like I said, my mistakes didn't allow that to happen. But all I could do was, you know, move forward like I did, and then just, you know, present myself as pure as I can, as pure as I could, based on my, you know, forward progress that I had started to make. So it's just different things like that. If you, like I said, if you have messed up already, you can't do nothing about it. You can just only move forward and ask for forgiveness for it. But if you haven't messed up in certain areas, don't do it, because it's not worth it. You don't want to feel you know, bad about going into another relationship because you can't, you know, maybe give them what they deserve to have, you know, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I totally agree. So we want you guys to see a little bit of what will happen in your life, just like it did ours, whenever you are faithful to the Lord and you are obedient to Him.
Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast.
You know how close I was to giving up on love? I had gotten to the point of thinking I would never find it. But God had different plans. He had you.
So as a promise to you, to God, and before all of these people here today, I vow to be the wife that I have longed to be for you, to be the wife that your heart has always desired, someone that will never leave. Whatever the Lord brings into our lives, wherever He sends us, whatever He wants us to do, as long as you're going, I'm going right beside you, with no questions asked. Thank you for trusting me with your heart.
Jeremy and Katelen, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Jeremy, you may kiss the bride.